Welcome to Video Games Revisited. Today we're going to be taking a look at the Sega 4-in-1 game pack for the Game Gear. I'm fairly certain almost everybody who had a Game Gear will be familiar with this cartridge, as it generally came bundled with all new Game Gear consoles. As you may have guessed, there are 4 games on this cartridge, so as there's a lot to get through, let's jump straight to the first game. Flash Columns. This game has the format of a staple puzzle game. It has a Tetris-like layout, and to clear a portion of the screen you have to match up a certain amount of matching shapes for them to pop. In Flash Columns it happens to be 4 of the same colour and shape that just have to be touching, they don't have to be in a line for it to count. Instead of just racking up points for how many shapes you've popped, you actually progress through stages, and to do this you must get rid of specific shapes on the screen. These are indicated to you as they flash quite rapidly, and as you work through the stages the difficulty increases by simply adding more of these shapes to the stage. But speed and difficulty is selectable when you first start up the game for repeat players. Rather than being able to rotate the shapes to get them into the optimum position for clearing the screen, in Flash Columns you have to keep them stacked vertically and can just cycle the order of the shapes. The problem with this being the shapes you have to dispose of are generally buried a couple of layers downwards from the place you can position these shapes, and as a result you normally end up burying them trying to clear the shapes above them, which really slows down the game and ruins the pacing in my opinion, as it makes some stages with multiple shapes to clear really drag on when all you want to be doing is moving on. In summary, Flash Columns is quite fun if you're willing to give it the time, and if your brain works quicker than mine and you can work out a speedy way to get to the flashing shapes, I'm sure it could be a lot of fun. So on to our second game, Penalty Shootout. Rather predictably, this is a football-style mini-game where you alternate between taking penalties and saving them, and the two different styles of gameplay are very different. The weakest of the two being taking the penalties. To take a penalty, you're presented with 3 tiles, one for left, one for right, one for middle, and after you've made your selection, you get low, medium and high. With the second selection made, you press the kick button, your player runs at the ball, shoots it, and the ball will go to the corresponding place in the goal. If you're lucky, it'll sneak past the keeper. If you're not, the keeper will grab it. It's based entirely on guesswork and it's not really much fun. Once all your penalties have been taken, you move on to the role of the keeper. Now this is the more fun of the two modes, as you actually get to do something that resembles a game. To save a penalty you just keep an eye on the ball that will curl off at a certain point to the position the computer has selected. And when this happens, if you're quick enough, you just jam the direction and your keeper will jump that way. Whilst you could just jam any old direction and hope for the best, it's certainly more rewarding to work on your reflexes. With a little bit of practice you can get quite good and save quite a lot of the goals. The only problem being, once this fun little mini-game's done, you're back to taking penalties again, and going through and selecting the tiles again at random is so boring that it outweighs any fun you could possibly have from playing as the keeper. So all in all, Penalty Shootout's a fairly poor and unbalanced game that's hard to recommend. The third game we're going to look at is Rally. Rally's a pretty nice looking A to B racing game. The game's broken down into stages, and all you have to do is get to a certain point within the time limit to progress. Once you get to this certain point, whatever time you have left will be added on, the scenery will change, moving you on to the next stage. The whole idea being you get as far as you can before you eventually run out of time. As you'd expect in a racing game, to make life harder there are other drivers and corners to get in your way. To get good at the game you really have to rely upon your reflexes and learn how to judge a situation, as coming into contact with the hard shoulder or other cars slows you down substantially. Thankfully the game handles nicely, there's never too much to deal with, and the increased challenge and variety of the scenery will make this a fun, very competent, great portable racing game. It could be argued a variety of cars would be nice, but to be honest I'm not entirely sure what good it would do. The physics aren't overly complex, so the simple judging of a situation and driving to suit is more than enough, and I'm not sure what more cars could bring to the table. The fourth and final game on this cartridge is a tennis game, aptly named Tennis. This game looks great, Sonic is the umpire, there's 4 different opponents to choose from that increase difficulty as you go through them. Like on Rally, there's no way to change your own character, but as this is a comparatively early tennis game, I don't think it's necessary. The main reason being it's not overly complex, and different statistics aren't really necessary. The variety of shots are limited to regular and lobs, and all you really have to do is get behind the ball and press whatever shot and direction you've selected at the appropriate time. This game does everything it should do really. The only real issue I found was how far you are from the ball is difficult to tell, but that's mostly just restrictions of the hardware, as depth is difficult to gauge. But just bear in mind the ball has to pretty much be hidden behind you before you press the shot and you should be fine. I personally found it difficult to play because I'm used to current generation tennis games where most of my shots are returned by diving. There's no such functionality for that here, but it's forgivable because it's mostly due to me playing this game 20 years too late. So this is a great pick up and play tennis game that just doesn't do anything too fancy. So that's about all there is to see for Sega Game Pack 4-in-1. With the exception of Penalty Shootout, all of the games here are competent in their own right and do pretty much exactly what they should do. Whilst they're not overly sophisticated, this must have been a fantastic little cartridge to get with your Game Gear, giving you a nice bit of variety and covers a lot of ground, ticking boxes for pretty much everything apart from platform and shooter fans. So that's it for today. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you next time. Take care.